If humans only began building machines a few thousand years ago, then who or what built these ones, tens of thousands of years earlier? Throughout the dusty pages of archaeology, there are discoveries so strange that they seem to defy the timeline of human evolution itself. Gears carved with impossible precision, metal alloys that shouldn't exist, ancient carvings that depict what looks eerily like engines, circuits, or even aircraft. Were these merely symbols of imagination, or echoes of a forgotten technological age, one that predated our own civilization by millennia? From the Antikythera mechanism fished out of the Aegean Sea, a device so complex it's often called the world's first computer, to the Baghdad Battery, which might have generated electric current long before Edison's light bulb, to the Ashoka iron pillar in India that refuses to rust after more than 1,500 years, these artifacts whisper the same question. Did ancient humans possess knowledge far beyond what we imagine? Mainstream archaeology tells us that complex machinery arose only after the Bronze and Iron Ages, a blink of an eye in evolutionary time. Yet scattered across deserts, oceans, and mountains are clues suggesting something different, something that challenges the very foundation of what we believe about human progress. In this episode, we'll journey deep into that mystery, across continents and epochs, to uncover the story of these impossible machines. Are they evidence of lost civilizations, of prehistoric geniuses forgotten by time, or simply misinterpreted relics of nature and myth? Prepare to question everything you thought you knew about the dawn of human technology, because what we find buried beneath the soil may not just rewrite history, it may reveal that we've lived this story before. When we speak of machines, we often imagine the gears of the Industrial Revolution, iron engines breathing steam, or silicon circuits humming with code. But what if the true origins of machinery lie not in modernity, but deep in prehistory? To understand why this question is so controversial, we need to revisit the accepted timeline of human development. According to mainstream archaeology, complex toolmaking began roughly 2.6 million years ago with Homo habilis, the handyman. These early humans shaped crude stone flakes, capable of cutting meat or scraping hides. Over time, the technology evolved. Homo erectus learned to control fire, Neanderthals mastered bone and wood crafting, and finally Homo sapiens began to create composite tools, axes, spears, and eventually metal. By 3000 BCE, civilizations like Sumer, Egypt, and the Indus Valley began forging copper and bronze, a revolution that laid the foundation for wheels, chariots, and irrigation systems. And by 1000 BCE, the Iron Age had transformed human life. That's the official timeline. But what happens when we find an artifact that doesn't fit? The Antikythera mechanism, the clock that shouldn't exist. In 1901, Greek sponge divers exploring the depths near the island of Antikythera stumbled upon a shipwreck filled with statues and pottery. Among the encrusted relics was a lump of bronze so corroded it seemed unremarkable. Until decades later, X-rays revealed something astonishing: interlocking gears, precise to a fraction of a millimeter. The mechanism was dated to around 100 BCE, yet it contained at least 30 intricate bronze gears designed to predict solar eclipses, planetary movements, and the timing of the ancient Olympic Games. It was, in essence, a mechanical computer, built more than 1,000 years before the birth of modern clockwork. Historians struggled to explain it. How could ancient Greeks, long before telescopes and advanced metallurgy, have achieved such engineering? Was it the work of a lone genius, perhaps inspired by lost teachings from Egypt or Babylon? Or was it evidence that technological knowledge once reached far higher and then vanished? The Baghdad Battery, electricity in the age of clay. Half a world away, in the dusty ruins near Baghdad, archaeologists unearthed a curious object, a clay jar containing an iron rod and a copper cylinder. At first, it seemed trivial, until German researcher Wilhelm Koenig proposed something radical in 1938. This 2,000-year-old vessel might have been a primitive battery. When filled with an acidic liquid, like vinegar or grape juice, the device can indeed produce a small electric current, enough to power electroplating or create weak shocks. If true, this would mean that ancient craftsmen might have understood electrochemistry centuries before modern science discovered it. But official archaeology remains cautious. Skeptics claim the Baghdad Battery was simply a storage jar or ritual object, and that no evidence of ancient electrical devices has ever been found. Yet believers counter with ancient writings describing divine light, metal that glowed without fire, and temple lamps that burned eternally. Could these be poetic metaphors, or the fading memory of forgotten experiments? The iron pillar of Delhi, the metal that defies time. In the heart of Delhi stands a 7-meter-tall column of iron, erected around the 5th century CE during the reign of King Chandragupta So. What makes it extraordinary isn't its size, but its resistance to rust. Despite enduring more than 1,600 years of monsoon rains, the pillar remains almost perfectly preserved. Modern metallurgists were baffled. The iron's purity exceeded what should have been possible using ancient smelting techniques. Microscopic analysis revealed a thin, protective layer of crystalline iron hydrogen phosphate, a form of natural stainless steel that shouldn't exist at that technological level. Was it luck? Or a sign that ancient Indian blacksmiths understood chemical processes we're only now rediscovering? Parts. Out-of-place artifacts. These cases are often grouped under the term parts, out-of-place artifacts. They're items found in geological or archaeological contexts where they seemingly shouldn't be. Examples range from fossilized metal spheres found in South Africa, some dated at billions of years, to carvings depicting what look like flying machines in Egyptian temples. Of course, many such claims are hoaxes, misinterpretations, or natural formations mistaken for tools, but others persist, eluding simple explanation. In 1991, miners in the Ural Mountains discovered tiny coil-shaped objects, microscopic spirals of tungsten and molybdenum embedded in sediment layers up to 100,000 years old. Their size and precision suggest machine production, yet they predate the rise of Homo sapiens. If these findings are authentic, they raise a haunting possibility. Could an unknown civilization, or even a previous version of humanity, have risen, mastered technology, and fallen into oblivion long before our recorded history began? The forgotten chapters of human evolution. Recent discoveries have already shown how incomplete our timeline truly is. Species like Denisovans, Homo floresiensis, and Homo naledi, all unknown just decades ago, reveal that human evolution was not a straight line, but a tangled web of coexisting intelligences. Could one of them, or perhaps an entirely lost branch, have reached a technological threshold and vanished, leaving behind only enigmatic remnants? Some scientists propose that civilizations might rise and fall cyclically, erased by natural disasters, asteroid impacts, supervolcanoes, or sudden climate shifts. If an advanced culture existed 20,000 or even 100,000 years ago, would we even find its traces today? Stone erodes, metal corrodes. Only the deepest relics or the strangest machines might survive. We stand today surrounded by tools and screens, believing ourselves to be the first. But scattered across time are whispers of another age, an age when unknown hands shaped metal, harnessed energy, and built devices that shouldn't exist. The question now is not if these machines are real, but why they were built and what their true purpose might have been. Imagine a dawn long before recorded history, before Sumer, before Egypt, before even the glaciers retreated. Humanity was young, fragile, yet endlessly curious. And in that curiosity, perhaps, lay the seeds of forgotten genius. When we talk about ancient machines, we're not only referring to gears or metalwork. We're talking about systems of precision, purpose, and engineering that shouldn't exist for their time. To uncover their mystery, we must travel deep into the places where myth, archaeology, and science collide. 1. The secrets beneath the sand, the Egyptian enigma. Egypt is a land of wonders but also of contradictions. For decades, archaeologists have puzzled over how massive blocks, each weighing dozens of tons, were perfectly cut, transported, and placed into the Great Pyramids with accuracy down to the millimeter. Primitive copper tools shouldn't have been able to slice through hard granite. Yet in quarries like Aswan, the evidence stands before us, perfectly drilled holes and laser-straight cuts on granite blocks. Some researchers, including engineer Christopher Dunn, have suggested something audacious: that the ancient Egyptians might have possessed machinery powered by acoustic or vibrational energy, tools lost to time. Others point to the mysterious saw marks on unfinished stone sarcophagi inside the Serapeum of Saqqara, where the granite appears cut by a machine with consistent mechanical rhythm. Mainstream archaeology disagrees, of course, attributing it to immense manpower, copper saws with abrasive sand, and ingenious but low-tech methods. But here's the question: could pure manpower alone truly yield that level of geometric perfection, or was something more advanced at play? 2. The impossible city beneath the waves. Yonaguni Monument off the coast of Yonaguni, Japan. Divers discovered a colossal underwater structure, terraces, right-angled steps, and giant platforms carved directly into the bedrock. To some, it's an underwater temple, possibly the ruins of Mu, a lost Pacific civilization. To others, it's simply a natural formation shaped by currents and tectonic forces, but the deeper you go, the more deliberate it seems. Massive stone blocks appear arranged with intention. 90-degree corners, staircase-like patterns, and platforms resembling altars or observation decks. If it is indeed man-made, it could date back over 10,000 years, at a time when much of the world's coastlines were above water during the last ice age. That would mean a civilization capable of monumental architecture existed long before Mesopotamia, rewriting the timeline of human construction and possibly suggesting the existence of advanced engineering knowledge in prehistory. 3. The stone that sings. Pumapunku, Bolivia high in the Andes, in the ruins of Pumapunku, lie scattered stones that seem to mock modern understanding. Each block, some weighing over 100 tons, is carved from diorite and andesite, materials so hard that even today's diamond-tipped drills struggle to shape them. Yet these ancient builders cut them with perfect 90-degree angles, machine-like symmetry, and interlocking precision, as if produced in a factory. The local legends speak of gods called the Viracochas, who descended from the sky and taught humans how to shape stone with the Song of the Stars. Modern scientists, however, remain divided. Some suggest advanced techniques using copper tools and abrasives. Others quietly admit that the precision cannot be explained by known technology of the Tiwanaku culture, which flourished around 500 CE. To stand among these stones is to feel the echo of something mechanical, a civilization whose craftsmanship bordered on the industrial. 4. The mechanism of the gods. The Sabu disk. In Egypt's Saqqara, archaeologists unearthed a strange object inside the tomb of Prince Sabu, a disk of schist, a fragile stone that fractures easily. The artifact, shaped with a central hub and 3 curved lobes, looks uncannily like a modern turbine blade or flywheel. Its purpose remains unknown. Some claim it was ceremonial, Others see it as a symbolic artifact. But engineers who've examined replicas note that its aerodynamic design and perfect symmetry could, in theory, allow for rotational motion, like a component of a machine. How could artisans 5,000 years ago carve such an object out of brittle stone, using tools that supposedly couldn't cut schist? And why shape it in a form that seems designed for motion? It's as if the builders had knowledge not just of art, but of mechanical principles far ahead of their era. 5. The map that shouldn't exist. The Piri Reis mystery. In 1513, Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis compiled a world map using ancient sources. When rediscovered in the 20th century, it revealed something mind-bending: the coastline of Antarctica, drawn accurately centuries before it was discovered, and before it was even free of ice. Experts in the U.S. Air Force and cartography compared it to modern seismic data and concluded that the map's depiction of Antarctica was precise to within half a degree, as if based on aerial or satellite imaging. How could a 16th century admiral access such data? Piri Reis himself wrote that his sources included ancient maps from the time of Alexander the Great. If true, that means there were older civilizations that mapped the globe with technology that rivals ours today. Perhaps, as Graham Hancock suggests, we are a species with amnesia, one that has forgotten entire epochs of its own brilliance. 6. The sound of the ancients. Sonic and magnetic technology. Another pattern emerges when examining ancient sites worldwide: the use of sound. From Stonehenge to Chavin de Huantar in Peru, from Egyptian chambers that hum at resonant frequencies to Mayan temples that echo like bird calls, ancient builders seemed obsessed with acoustic design. Could they have harnessed vibration as a tool, a primitive form of sonic levitation or matter manipulation? Even NASA researchers have noted that certain frequencies can cause objects to move or hover in controlled environments. Perhaps the ancients, through intuition or experimentation, stumbled upon these same principles. Some legends, like those of Tibet, even describe monks using sound to raise stones, myths dismissed for centuries, but strangely echoed in modern acoustic research. These are not just stories of stone and metal. They're stories of memory, of human ingenuity that may have risen and fallen countless times. For every Antikythera mechanism or Baghdad Battery we uncover, how many lie beneath the soil, waiting to be rediscovered? If even one of these artifacts proves authentic, if one machine truly predates known civilization, then history itself is incomplete. Our species, which prides itself on progress, might merely be relearning what our ancestors already knew, and so the mystery deepens. Were these ancient machines tools of gods, myths made manifest, or proof that our story as Homo sapiens is far older and far more advanced than we've dared to believe? The deeper archaeologists dig, the stranger the evidence becomes, and the louder the debate grows. Because if these machines and artifacts are genuine, they don't just challenge a few chapters of human history, they threaten to rewrite the entire book. To the scientific establishment, this idea is dangerous. It undermines a linear model of progress, from caves to copper to circuits. But what if progress isn't linear at all? What if it's cyclical, a spiral of rise and collapse, memory and forgetting? Let's explore the two competing visions of our ancient past, the orthodox and the forbidden. 1. The mainstream explanation: genius in simplicity. Traditional archaeology argues that all these impossible machines can be explained by ingenuity within context, not by lost civilizations or aliens. Take the Antikythera mechanism. Historians now believe it was crafted by Greek scientists following the teachings of Hipparchus and Archimedes. Yes, it was astonishingly complex, but not impossible, a testament to the human mind's brilliance even in antiquity. The Baghdad Battery? Most likely a ritual container, or perhaps an accidental design resembling a power cell. The Delhi Iron Pillar, a result of India's ancient mastery of phosphoric iron, a process rediscovered, not invented, in the modern age. And Pumapunku's perfect cuts, possibly the outcome of patient craftsmanship and clever use of abrasives, aided by centuries of labor. In this view, there was no lost technology, only human perseverance, working miracles with primitive means. And yet, this explanation struggles to answer the same haunting question. If ancient builders were capable of such precision, why didn't that technology spread or evolve continuously? Why do we find isolated bursts of brilliance, like sparks of genius in the dark, followed by centuries of apparent regression? 2. The alternative vision. Civilizations before civilization. Opposing this are scholars and independent researchers, often dismissed as fringe theorists, who propose that an advanced civilization once thrived long before recorded history. Writers like Graham Hancock, Randall Carlson, and even physicists like Paul Laviolette argue that humanity may have achieved a global level of knowledge in astronomy, engineering, and mathematics during the last ice age or earlier, only to be wiped out by cataclysm. Around 12,800 years ago, the Earth experienced the Younger Dryas impact event, a sudden return to glacial conditions, possibly triggered by a comet strike. Massive floods swept across continents, sea levels rose over 100 meters, and global temperatures plunged. Civilizations, if they existed, would have been obliterated, leaving behind only fragments, buried beneath oceans or glaciers. These theorists claim that monuments like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, built over 11,000 years ago with advanced astronomical alignment, were the last echo of that lost world. Its builders, they say, were the survivors, the keepers of memory, who later became the gods and heroes of our myths. 3. Myths as memory, the hidden record in legends. Across cultures, the same story repeats, a golden age destroyed by flood or fire. Teachers descending from the sky or sea to rebuild civilization. In Sumer, they were the Anunnaki. In Egypt, the Neters. In the Americas, the Viracochas. These weren't necessarily extraterrestrial beings. Perhaps they were humans, remnants of a previous high culture, preserving fragments of lost science through symbolism and religion. The pyramids, ziggurats, and megaliths might not just be tombs or temples, but machines of memory, encoding astronomical and geometric knowledge in stone. Could the Antikythera mechanism, the Sabu disk, and the Baghdad Battery have been the last surviving tools from this forgotten era, misunderstood by later generations and buried under myth? 4. The academic divide. Why the past is political. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Archaeology is not just science. It's also power. To accept a prehistoric civilization predating all known cultures would mean rethinking humanity's story, and admitting that we are not the pinnacle, but perhaps a sequel. Institutions resist such paradigm shifts. In the 19th century, when the first human fossils were found alongside extinct animals, many scholars refused to believe that humans existed in the Ice Age. When Troy was first excavated by Heinrich Schliemann, it was dismissed as fiction until proven real. Even the Antikythera mechanism was once ridiculed as a modern forgery. History has shown that truth often arrives as heresy. 5. The hidden clues beneath our feet. Today, new technologies like LiDAR and ground-penetrating radar are peeling back the jungle and sand, revealing entire cities that were once invisible. In the Amazon rainforest, LiDAR scans uncovered vast networks of roads, canals, and pyramids, proving that advanced societies flourished there long before European contact. In Cambodia, beneath Angkor Wat, an even older city grid was revealed, evidence of sophisticated urban planning. And under the Sahara, Geologists have detected possible ruins beneath the dunes, perhaps remnants of a civilization swallowed by time. If these sites are fully explored, they may bridge the gap between myth and science, between Atlantis and archaeology. 6. The scientific enigma. Why no proof survives? Skeptics ask, if such civilizations existed, where are their machines, their metals, their ruins? But they forget one thing: time is a destroyer. Over tens of thousands of years, everything vanishes. Steel rusts, bronze corrodes, organic materials decay, entire continents shift. Rivers reroute and coastlines drown. Even our own cities, if left untended, would crumble into dust within millennia. As geologist Randall Carlson once said, give nature 12,000 years and it erases almost everything. So perhaps the absence of proof isn't proof of absence, but proof of how fragile civilization truly is. 7. The deeper question. Who are we really? If humanity has risen and fallen before, it changes everything. It suggests that we are not the first to harness electricity, forge metal, or map the stars. We are merely the latest iteration, inheritors of an ancient legacy, fumbling to rediscover what was lost. And maybe that's why these machines haunt us. They are mirrors, reminders of how knowledge, like light, can vanish and then return. 8. Between myth and memory. In the end, perhaps both sides are right. Perhaps the Antikythera mechanism, the Baghdad Battery, and the Iron Pillar are indeed products of their own time, brilliant, yet human. But perhaps they also represent a continuity, echoes of techniques, ideas, and dreams passed down from an age long forgotten. Every gear and groove, every impossible cut of stone may be a footprint, not of aliens, not of gods, but of us, a record of who we once were, and a warning of what we can lose. Because time doesn't only erase, it repeats. There's a haunting beauty in the idea that we may have lived this story before, that long before the internet, long before the light bulb, and long before cities glowed in the night, there may have been other civilizations, other inventors, and other machines humming softly beneath alien skies. If true, then history isn't a ladder of progress. It's a cycle of awakening and forgetting. But even if these ancient machines are not the remains of a lost world, even if they are simply the triumphs of human hands and imagination, they still reveal something profound about who we are. Because buried within every mystery of the past lies a message for the present. 1. The persistence of genius. When we look at the Antikythera mechanism, or the Iron Pillar of Delhi, we often ask, how could they have built this? But maybe the better question is, how could they not? Human intelligence didn't suddenly appear in the modern era. It has always been here, ancient, resilient, endlessly creative. The same spark that drives an engineer to design a quantum computer once drove a craftsman to carve gears from bronze or smelt pure iron without knowing why it worked. Only that it did. The ancients remind us that genius is timeless. Technology changes, but curiosity, the will to understand, is eternal. 2. Fragility of knowledge. If civilizations before us rose and vanished, then the most fragile material on Earth is not stone nor metal. It is memory. Imagine our own world 1,000 years from now. If a catastrophe erased everything, the towers would crumble, satellites would fall. Digital archives would vanish like dust in the wind. What fragments would remain to tell our story? A rusted car engine? A cracked smartphone? A fragment of solar panel? Would future archaeologists see them as proof of an advanced civilization, or dismiss them as anomalies just as we do with ancient machines today? Our age of information is also an age of amnesia. We record everything, but remember nothing. The ancients carved knowledge into stone so it would outlast them. We hide ours in servers and clouds, places that vanish when the power dies. Maybe that's the real warning of the lost machines. Not that they prove a forgotten civilization existed, but that we might become one. 3. Cycles of collapse and renewal. Look at the great collapses of the past: the fall of Rome, the end of the Mayan Empire, the destruction of the Bronze Age networks. Each one was a turning point where human progress suddenly reversed, as if the gears of civilization jammed. If it happened before, it can happen again. And if ancient technology once vanished into dust, then our own machines, satellites, reactors, algorithms, are not invincible either. But there's hope in this cycle, because after every collapse comes rebirth. After every silence comes rediscovery. What if that's the true story of humanity? Not a rise from ignorance, but a rhythm of rediscovery. Every age believes it is the first, until it finds the relics that whisper otherwise. 4. The echo of humility. When we think of ancient machines, there's a temptation to see ourselves as superior, to imagine that we've surpassed the primitive minds of the past. But maybe those minds were not primitive at all. Maybe they understood balance, craftsmanship, and cosmic harmony in ways we have lost. A Greek craftsman working the gears of the Antikythera, an Indian metallurgist forging rust-proof iron, a Bolivian mason carving diorite in the thin air of the Andes, each one was, in their own way, a scientist. Without laboratories, without electricity, without formal theory, only observation, patience, and faith in the patterns of nature. Humility is remembering that progress doesn't make us wiser, it only makes us faster. And speed, without understanding, can lead us to repeat the same mistakes that buried civilizations before us. 5. Rediscovering the sacred in science. Many ancient cultures blurred the line between technology and spirituality. The machine was not separate from the sacred, it was sacred. The stars, the gears, the music of the spheres, all were reflections of the same cosmic design. Today, we divide them. We worship science but forget its soul. We innovate without wisdom, create without consequence, and build without balance. Yet every impossible artifact, from the Antikythera to Göbekli Tepe, carries a hidden harmony, as if its builders understood that to master the world, you must first respect it. Maybe that's what they were trying to teach us, that the machine and the spirit were never meant to be enemies, but partners in the dance of evolution. 6. What we can learn from the silence. There's something poetic in the quiet endurance of these objects. The iron pillar still stands in the monsoon rains. The gears of the Antikythera mechanism lie corroded but intact beneath the sea. The stones of Pumapunku wait under thin air and cold stars, their purpose forgotten, their makers gone. They are not just relics. They are letters from the past, written in a language we have almost forgotten. And in that silence, they speak of what all civilizations eventually face. The truth that everything built by human hands will fade. Only the question endures. Who were we? What did we know? And will we remember next time? 7. The future of the past. Ironically, it may be the tools of our own age, satellites, quantum sensors, DNA sequencing, that finally solve the mysteries of ancient machines. Each new discovery reawakens a fragment of human memory, a reminder that progress is not invention, but remembrance. Perhaps the ancients didn't just leave behind artifacts, perhaps they left behind a blueprint for rediscovery, a trail of clues designed for future generations to follow once they were ready to understand. If so, we stand now on the threshold of reunion, where the ancient and the modern, the spiritual and the mechanical, meet again. Maybe that's not coincidence. Maybe it's destiny. We may never know whether those machines truly came from a lost civilization or simply from the brilliance of early humanity. But what matters is not who built them, but why they could. Because within every gear, every carved groove, every impossible artifact, there's one unmistakable message that intelligence is not a product of time, but a condition of being human. The machines that whisper. Across time. When we stand before the relics of the past, the corroded gears of the Antikythera, the flawless stones of Pumapunku, the rustless iron of Delhi, we are not simply looking at artifacts. We are staring into a mirror reflecting what humanity has always been, a species of dreamers, engineers, and storytellers. Every age believes itself to be the pinnacle of progress. Yet time and again, the earth reveals a humbling truth, that we are not the first to look toward the stars, nor the first to shape the world with machines. We may simply be the first to forget. Perhaps that is the greatest mystery of all. Not how these ancient devices were made, but why so few of them remain. 1. Echoes of a forgotten intelligence. The Antikythera mechanism, the Baghdad Battery, the Sabu disk, the iron pillar, the Piri race map, these are not isolated anomalies. They are whispers of continuity, faint echoes of a knowledge that once was, lost to flood, fire, and time. Each discovery forces us to confront an unsettling question. If such brilliance could exist so long ago, then how many other ages of enlightenment have we forgotten? Maybe the builders of these machines were not visitors from the stars, but our own ancestors, whose understanding of nature was deeper than our own, expressed not through plastic and silicon, but through balance, precision, and cosmic harmony. In that sense, the machines that shouldn't exist do not prove that the ancients were more advanced than us. They prove that we have always been advanced, that human potential is far older, far more mysterious, and far more sacred than our textbooks suggest. 2. The endless spiral of civilization. Civilizations rise like flames, brilliant, brief, and fragile. And like fire, they leave behind smoke, traces of memory that drift through myth and stone. The story of humanity is not a line from primitive to modern. It is a spiral circling through cycles of creation and loss. Each age builds upon the ashes of the one before, inheriting fragments, a carving, a formula, a dream, never realizing they are echoes of something ancient. That's why we find machines in places where they shouldn't be. Why knowledge appears, disappears, and reappears across millennia. We are not inventing the future. We are remembering it. 3. What the ancients still ask of us. Maybe these artifacts are not meant to shock us, but to remind us. To remind us of the humility to question everything we think we know. To remind us that science and wonder are not opposites, but partners. To remind us that knowledge, once lost, can vanish for thousands of years, and that the greatest danger we face today is not ignorance, but arrogance. Every machine, every invention, every discovery, from the Antikythera to artificial intelligence, is part of the same story. A story of curiosity born in the darkness of the unknown. A story that began long before us, and will continue long after. 4. The last question. So perhaps the real mystery isn't whether ancient people could build machines, but whether we can learn from their silence, whether we can protect our own civilization from the same forgetting. Because one day, thousands of years from now, our cities too will be dust. Our devices will corrode, and somewhere, deep beneath the earth or the sea, a fragment of our world will be found. A circuit, a lens, a tiny gear. And another species, another civilization, will hold it up and ask, who built this, and how could they have known so much? When that day comes, what story will they tell about us? 5. A final reflection. In the end, the ancient machines that shouldn't exist are not just archaeological puzzles. They are metaphors for the human soul. They remind us that every generation carries within it the blueprint of genius and the shadow of forgetting. That we are all part of a lineage of thinkers who, across eons, have tried to decode the same eternal mystery. What does it mean to be human? So as we close this journey through time, let's remember, the machines of the ancients may have stopped turning, but their story, our story, still moves. And somewhere, deep in the gears of history, something ancient continues to whisper. You have been here before. Don't forget again. If you've enjoyed this exploration of the mysteries that challenge our understanding of history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. What do you think? Were these machines products of lost civilizations, or just proof that human genius is timeless? Join us next time on Ancient Survivors, where we continue our search through time, uncovering the forgotten, the forbidden, and the extraordinary truths buried in the bones of our world.